The provisional arrival of Lampard as Chelsea's coach until the end of the season was supposed to be a job where he wouldn't be judged too harshly. However, after he led another defeat for Chelsea, this time against Arsenal, it's hard not to think that Lampard has irreversibly damaged his reputation as a coach in the short time he's been at Stamford Bridge. With a tough run of games left to finish the season, Lampard now faces a difficult battle to avoid ending his interim period in charge without any wins. If he fails to win, he is destined to be considered one of the worst coaching hires in Premier League history. Of course, it wouldn't be the first time a club has made a poor coaching decision, far from it. Let's remember other misguided coaching hires from the Premier League era. Subscribe to our channel. Remy Gard. Gard took charge of Aston Villa with the team firmly rooted at the bottom of the Premier League table, and when he left less than 5 months later, they were still in last place. There was much amusement among the players, with Gard being most remembered for the strict discipline he tried to impose on Jack Grealish. Teammate Gabriel Agbonlahor even recalled an occasion where Grealish was reprimanded by the Frenchman for smiling on the training ground. Win percentage, 10%. Les Reed, Charlton Athletic. Charlton Athletic gave Les Reed a not-so-special Christmas present in 2006 by ruthlessly sacking their manager. It may have been brutal, but it's unlikely things would have worked out for Reed. This was his first experience as a manager. He had previously been a football consultant, and he won just once during a 6-week spell in charge, a run that included elimination from the League Cup. Win percentage, 14.2%. Jan Siewert, Huddersfield Town. When Jan Siewert left Borussia Dortmund II to take over as Huddersfield Town manager in January 2019, nobody expected him to keep the Terriers in the Premier League. They had defied the odds just to reach the top flight in the first place, and David Wagner had produced a miracle to keep them there for a season. However, Siewert still managed to underperform. In the end, he oversaw 15 Premier League games, losing 12 of them and registering just one solitary win. Win percentage, 6.67%. Steve Wigley, Southampton. Steve Wigley has an excellent reputation as a youth coach, helping to develop a host of young stars during his stints at Southampton and Fulham. However, he failed to translate his success on the training ground to the Premier League touchline. Wigley didn't last long, managing just 14 games and winning only once. However, the lone victory came against Southampton's bitter rivals, Portsmouth, so it wasn't all bad. Win percentage, 6.25%. Mick McCarthy, Sunderland. In the Premier League, McCarthy's team managed just 2 wins in 28 games, before the manager was sacked in March 2006. Win percentage, 5.4%. Alan Pardew, West Brom. Alan Pardew had built a reputation as a perfectly serviceable Premier League manager before taking over at West Brom in November 2017. Since that disaster, everything has gone downhill for Pardew. He was brought in to replace Tony Pulis at the Hawthorns after the Baggies had endured an uninspiring start to the campaign, but Pardew's arrival seemed to only intensify their problems. He wouldn't experience his first win until January 13th, and that would be the only time he would celebrate 3 points before being sacked in March. Win percentage, 5.56%. Terry Connor, Wolverhampton. Named as coach of struggling Wolves after they failed to attract any sufficiently experienced candidate, Connor struggled for the rest of the season as the team drifted further away from safety. When the season ended, the statistics made for a pretty grim reading. 13 games played, 0 wins, 4 draws, and 9 losses. They scored just 12 goals and conceded 33. Win percentage, 0%. Frank de Boer, Crystal Palace. There was a lot of excitement when Frank de Boer took over at Selhurst Park in 2017. Crystal Palace was tired of Sam Allardyce's grueling style, and de Boer's arrival was supposed to herald a new era of total football, with the Dutchman promising the Eagles playing like Ajax in his presentation. It didn't quite work out that way. Instead, de Boer completely failed to adjust his team, which was much more suited to a more reactive approach. Surprisingly, Palace would lose all 4 games in charge without scoring a goal. Win percentage, 0%. Paul Jewell, Derby County. The 2007-2008 season of Derby County is legendary for all the wrong reasons. Their paltry tally of 11 points remains the worst in Premier League history, and, even with the economic chasm widening in the division, no team has come close to taking that record away from them. One of the managers who oversaw this catastrophe was Paul Jewell. The former Wigan boss replaced Billy Davies in November, with the Rams 4 points adrift of the first team outside the relegation zone after 14 games. Jewell began his reign with 3 consecutive defeats before earning his first point against Newcastle. Derby tried to help him by signing players such as Robbie Savage, Hossam Ghali, and Laurent Robert in January, but it didn't work. They wouldn't win under Jewell's command in the top flight. Win percentage, 0%.